What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Primarch Purpose. This is a series in which I look in reverse Legion order at each individual Primarch, giving my thoughts and ideas on what their ultimate endgame goal might have been in the Primarch project created by the Emperor. The Emperor created the Primarchs and the Primarch project and then the Legion, the Stargates and stuff with a very specific goal in mind outside of just conquering the galaxy for the Great Crusade. For such an extensive project as the Primarch project, you don't just alter things to the gene structure willy-nilly. He had a definite goal in mind when he handcrafted each individual Primarch, basically. We kind of get to see that type of purpose manifest slightly in some of these Primarchs, some more than others, during the Great Crusade, but ultimately gets all washed away when the heresy happens. So to take a look at what the purpose might be for each of the Primarchs, we got a bit of a what-if setting to keep in mind. And what that is, basically is just changing the setting of 40k a little bit, but fundamentally with the Imperium and by extension Chaos. So the Emperor is alive and well and leading an Imperial truth-driven Imperium following the conclusion of the Great Crusade, a successful ending to it. Doesn't mean that they stretch one end of the galaxy to the other. It just means they have consolidated their position and have successfully concluded the Great Crusade. All the Primarchs are alive and loyal to the Emperor, leading their legions still. There's no chapters. As a result, there is no Chaos Astartes. There's Chaos Demons, Traitor Guard, even Dark Mechanicum, but no Chaos Astartes in this theoretical what-if scenario. Doesn't matter, really, because it's not like this is a setting at all. It's just for the purposes of this series. On top of that, there's no ecclesiarchy or its forces because the imperial truth is the law of the land, and the Inquisition as we know it doesn't exist, nor does its forces such as Death Watch and Grey Knights and the like, because of how it was founded doesn't come to be. Instead, what would be considered the Inquisition, if you will, is a collaboration of several Primarchs and their legions doing things, you could say. So, with that said, all the Xenos factions we are aware of still exist. And there's still plenty of war in the 41st millennium in a post-Crusade Imperium for this what-if setting. So, with that said and in mind, let's take a look at the righteous one, the great angel, the winged Primarch, Sanguinius of the Blood Angels Legion. And with Book 8, there's a lot of cool information that further kind of drives home some fluff that we've known about for a while. And he gets fresh new examples and takes on it as well. It doesn't ultimately change what I feel the purpose of Sanguinius might be. It just kind of adds more weight to it. And this is the fact that Sanguinius is interesting in the fact that he represents the Emperor's soul more completely than any other Primarch does. Every Primarch is an aspect of war, yes, and to a degree an aspect of the Emperor. And where you might have pride and or wrath or terror as aspects being represented, or knowledge or insight or whatever, Sanguinius kind of wraps it all up as being just a representation of the Emperor's soul. He has this empathic capability with his legion and an empathic understanding and not just a die-hard belief in the imperial truth and loyalty to the Emperor, which he is staunchly loyal to the Emperor. There's no ifs, ands, or buts on that. It can never be broken or even considered to be otherwise. But on top of that, he has just this connection. It's like when you connect with someone or some concept, you can't maybe fully describe that connection. It's just kind of apparent to those that kind of look for it. You can see, yes, there's a connection here. And it goes beyond just understanding and loyalty in this case, that Sanguinius has a deep connection to the Emperor's soul and the Emperor's grand vision for the Imperium. And he wholeheartedly believes in it himself. On top of that, he's a noble leader. He possesses wisdom and vision and strength at arms, and is just a very capable soldier and leader and noble. And he has his rage, potentially has his anger. It's a wrath that is unshakable once started. He is complex, like most Primarchs, not most, all Primarchs are, but at the end of it, he is still this embodiment of all the noble aspects of the imperial truth and of the emperor in a way. It just shines through in this winged Primarch, this angel made manifest. Now, whether or not you believe the wings were created by the emperor is kind of a moot point for this discussion. There is fluff that states it is unknown why he has wings, and there is some fluff which got most recently added to by Book 8 of his actual unit entry, which describes the emperor gifting him his wings. So either way, it doesn't really matter for his purpose or how he's viewed. It's almost even more impressive that what might be viewed as an obvious mutation, especially if the emperor didn't plan for it, which he most likely did. But even if he didn't, the fact that Sanguinius is held in such high regard while having such obvious out there for all to see mutation is just a testament to his capability. So Sanguinius has always been viewed as one of the mightiest and kind of the paragon of what a Primarch should be. So there were a lot that believed Sanguinius would be named War Master once they knew that this was happening. If you did a poll, it might be split or in Sanguinius' favor between him and Horus who would be War Master. If you did a poll of common thought, like who would you think would lead all the armed forces of the Great Crusade in the Emperor's, not so much absence, but in the Emperor's stead, and it would be Sanguinius and Horus would be the two highest votes, if you will, and probably Sanguinius taking the lead. That's how well respected and viewed and admired he is, not just by his brother Primarchs, not just by the legions, but by the fledgling Imperium as a whole. In fact, once Horus receives the title of War Master, he laments of how it should have been Sanguinius, for he was the best of us. And that viewpoint is shared by Guilliman. When the Imperium Secondus had his really short-term reign in the Macrais, in his Lical sector, you could say, and all that, with Guilliman, with the Lion, and Sanguinius, it is agreed and planned for Sanguinius to be the de facto imperator of the Imperium Secondus, basically take on that overarching supreme leader role. It was always kind of meant to be Sanguinius' role. And this is where I'm getting at with his purpose. I think ultimately Sanguinius' purpose is not to be a literal heir to the Emperor, because the Emperor is always meant to be eternal, but to kind of fit in that role and aspect of what an heir or a prince would do, to kind of go out and do that type of role and that concept. It's more than just being a leader of military might. It's more than just being a bureaucratic, capable or savvy tactician. It's more than just doing the appearances, right? And especially in 40K, in that setting, is vastly different than here. But I was referring to the 40K setting with all my examples because, yeah. But anyways, I think kind of singularly amongst the Primarchs, Sanguinius truly represents that. All Primarchs are flawed, wings aside. The gene curse of what we know as the Black Rage, which very rarely flares up in them as a legion because Sanguinius is still alive, so they don't get the curse being brought full bore, but they still have the thirst, that red thirst, that they constantly keep in check through their actions of artisanship and scholarly pursuits and what have you. Sanguinius kind of reforged the legion to kind of grab the reins and take hold of and control that thirst instead of it controlling them. So we have these flaws here to kind of give more interest and character to these characters and these legions. And even with those flaws, of which makes them, in a sense, really capable shock troopers, because that they get the grips of their foe kind of gives some satiation. That was a horrible way to pronounce that. Satiation or whatever, to their thirst a bit, and also further have to fight it and develop a stronger, more steely resolve. But that aggression, of which the angel definitely has aggression when he gets angry and mad and wrathful, works really well for shock assault. But it doesn't define the angel, and it doesn't define the legion. If it defined them, they'd be more like Angron and his world leaders. But they're very different from that, despite having a very similar shock assault role. So I think what we see is the purpose of the Primarch is to be kind of like almost a mini emperor himself, not in power and prestige necessarily, for he does not have the psychic might anywhere near the emperor or anywhere near Magnus or anybody. He has the curse of foresight he can't control, which is about it. But he doesn't have the psychic might of the emperor. He doesn't have perhaps the deep arcane science understanding that the emperor has, but he does know how to lead. He does know how to unify. He did that on Baal. He was the unwitting god of the people of Baal, just like the emperor became the unwitting god of humanity during the height of the Great Crusade, especially once the heresy was over. Definitely so. So he shares some aspects with his father that way. The emperor is trying to make humanity the best it can be, and the Astartes were kind of meant to represent the best humanity had to offer, could achieve, if you will. The Primarchs exemplifying that to the nth degree. Sanguinius drawing that into his legion as well. There's a lot of parallels there. A mighty fighter, a mighty leader, a noble leader, full of vision and wisdom. All these things describe Sanguinius. He's kind of, in a way, a power gamed role-playing character, right? He's got a bit of everything going on, but not just a jack of all trades. He's like a master of most trades. It's a very power gained, power level kind of RPG character, if you will. But it's all very fitting. He's got his own flaws and own things that kind of help ground it a bit. But ultimately, I think his purpose is to be that kind of princely nature, to be able to go forth and without need of real direction represent the emperor and the imperium and his will, and carry out his will in a way that just he understands better than most any other Primarch. So kind of a hard purpose to kind of pin down in a singular word or a singular title, and I think it's more so just pin down his deeds and his actions. For as long as Sanguinius lives, he got to the hype level of which Book 8 Book 8 isn't the first time we hear stuff like this. It just does a really good job hyping it up in the documentary style. But as long as Sanguinius lives, it's believed that the Imperium can never falter or fail, truthfully. So, kind of ironic wordings, if you will, given the state of actual 40k timeline. But in the form of ringing true, a mighty Sanguinius leads to a mighty Imperium. And it's not just amongst the standard populace, even amongst the abhuman mutant human beings, of which a lot become or have become Blood Angels. That trend can continue, right? His gene seed is very transformative. And, having his host come out to a sector of space that might have a lot of these abhumans around can really help quell any potential rebellion or uprising, because you don't want to incur their wrath. The great angel's wrath is not something you want to behold, but even more importantly, on top of that, you don't want to slight him. You don't want to disrespect him either. For it may not be that you incur his wrath, it may just be you will never be chosen, or your tribe or your planet or your sector would never have the potential to become one of the hosts of the angel, become one of the emperor's chosen Astartes, because that's where they pull from more so, or definitely more so than other legions for their gene stock, given his gene seed's capability of really transforming most any human structure or human being into a mini Sanguinius Blood Angel Astartes. So that's just a little extra icing on the cake. It can help quell things for whenever his host is on the move. It'll it's kind of hushed whispers and awe of will they choose one of us here or whatever, potentially. A very mighty force, basically not acting as a second emperor, nothing like that, but just having that deep understanding and wisdom, and being, relied on a lot by the emperor for counsel as well, only further strengthens this. He did so during the Great Crusade, and he would continue to do so in a post-Crusade Imperium, such as this what-if setting. So that's kind of my thoughts on Sanguinius's role. He is we're basically shown this of Sanguinius during the Imperium Secondus, when Guilliman and basically decrees that Sanguinius is the imperator of the Imperium Secundus, and that was a short-lived thing because eventually Sanguinius gets to Terra. They realize the Emperor and Terra is alive, and therefore the fight can continue on there. There's no need for the Imperium Secundus, and it's it's a testament to the three Primarchs there that they just let it die and didn't try and hold on to something because they had a modicum of feeling of more self-importance of power because of it. But the fact that Sanguinius was kind of the linchpin of Guilliman's plans to be the imperator of Imperium Secundus is just kind of interface full-on example of what his purpose might have been from the creation of the Primarch project. And I just want to finish off by stating I don't think any Primarch was truly meant to be an heir or a prince to the Emperor. The Emperor was meant to be eternal, always, in the fluff the way it's set up. So having an heir for something that would never happen wouldn't really make a lot of sense or work out too well, I guess. But definitely wouldn't make a lot of sense. So it's just more so, kind of a if there was a need for an heir, most would look to Sanguinius to fulfill that role, given his kind of being the physical embodiment of the Emperor's soul and wisdom, if you will, in that regard, for the Imperial truth. So anyways, that's my takes on Sanguinius, kind of all over the place. Didn't really quite pin it down necessarily in one singular statement, but that's Sanguinius, right? He is mighty. He is really cool. I really like him as a Primarch. Any angelic visage thing I find interesting, and they did such a good job with him because he's not just it's easy to look at all the stand-up qualities of a Primarch and go, well, that's a Mary Sue, right? Sanguinius, Guilliman, two really good examples. But when you see their deeds and their capabilities, that quickly goes away, right? As being an actual literal Mary Sue. Now you could say of the Primarchs they are Mary Sue-like, and to a degree, sure, but Sanguinius I think also is just more than that because while he has all these noble aspects and virtuous aspects, he also has a terrible anger to behold if you basically piss him off. So, he kind of represents both sides of that coin. And much like the Emperor's wrath is something you don't want to behold either, which is further kind of exemplifies his physical embodiment of the Emperor's kind of soul in this whole Imperial truth business. Anyways, that's my take on Sanguinius. A fun Primarch, a cool Primarch, I think kind of singular in his role. I don't think there really is another Primarch that kind of hits it or tackles it in quite the same degree. You might make a case for a couple others getting close, though. I'll definitely agree to that. Anyways, that's just opinion. Remember, none of it's fact. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's just have some fun with these theoretical overanalyzations of things and making up words, I guess. So that's Sanguinius. I'll be continuing the Primarch purpose as I'm able to with time, so hopefully you're still enjoying. I will get to other series as well. I haven't forgotten about At a Glance or anything like that. I'll get there. Just, limited scheduling, so work with me here. Thanks very much for stopping by. If you made it through to the end, hit that subscribe button to be part of future conversations. Share your thoughts in the comment section below of Primarch purpose in general and Sanguinius specifically. Do you like him? Do you not? And why? Always cool to read people's different viewpoints and opinions, even if they're not similar to my own. That's fine. That's why we have them, right? Anyways, thanks for stopping by and take it easy.